Yo, greetings and welcome everybody. My name is Justin, variety entertainment streamer, former convention director. Shiner and Channel, hello. Welcome on in, good to see you. It's been a long time. Jenks, greetings and welcome. Let's get this show on the road, shall we? Let's see, my VR equipment is spotty. So if I get glitchy during the stream, I apologize ahead of time. My dog has been munching on things and I'm trying to get things to work. But the batteries in my controllers are working. My full body is not working, however, so that is going to have to be replaced. Good day, Freckles. Hello. Holy smokes, the talking lion! Tank Spec Weasel, welcome to the stream. How are you doing? Guys, let's have a discussion, huh? First of all, let me say welcome to everybody. Things are getting a little hectic out in Pittsburgh. I am not at Anthrocon. I have not been to Anthrocon in 9 years, but I am its former convention director for the registration department. And as such, I feel that providing a little bit of an insight might assist people in what's going on. Shiner, do you mind if I open up the conversational window that you had discussed with me on Twitter? Since it is a private message, I want to ask permission before speaking about it on the air. If I have your permission, I'll talk about it. If not, I'll leave it be. And so, anyway, hello, Jinx. And good seeing you last night, Freckles. You're a sweetheart. You're adorable. So, go ahead. There's nothing that can't be used. All right. So, what am I going to talk about? Well, as it stands right now, a lot of people are exceptionally frustrated with the fact that there are very long lines at Anthrocon. And believe me when I say this, I know the registration department. I know the people who run that department. They are trying their absolute best to put things together. Unfortunately, a lot of these plans that get put into action don't fall into place, and any good ideas aren't good ideas unless if they're executed. Brandy Dirk, oh my goodness, tier 1 sub for 42 months. That is a hell of a long time. Thank you so much. 42 months. I really, really appreciate it. You guys are keeping a roof above my head. Thank you so much. Let's see. Of course, it's easy to bitch from the sidelines. Yeah, that is true. Nice to hang out with you too, Freckles. Sorry, connection is spotty right now at the moment. No, it's all right. It's all right. If you guys are new, feel free to give me a follow, please. We're on our way to 6,000 followers. So the conversation that Shanor had with myself earlier, and this is kind of an interesting subject. I told him what to do years ago. This is what Shanor said to me. Figure out what your throughput is per hour at line. Allow that many people in. Once you reach that limit, hand out passes for the next group. Say 500, return at 10 a.m. Assuming 9 a.m. open. Once that group of 500 sets their passes, then the next 500 gets passes. Then the next until 12. Continue repeating the process until everyone in line has had a return time, and enforce return times. You do not enter the line before your return pass time. If you miss your 1 hour window, you get a new pass with whatever return time is currently available. If 500 people per hour isn't enough throughput, then improve your line handling ability by whatever means necessary to improve it. Say, for example, you need to process 10,000 people over a 10-hour period, and then you find yourself bottlenecks in the process and throws recourses there. If we figure that it takes the average attendee 10 minutes on average to complete the registration on a Chromebook, then 15 Chromebooks aren't going to cut it. Based on that measurement, you need about 150 on-site entry terminals, Chromebooks logged to the Anthrocon pre-reg site, to process 1,000 people per hour, lamenting the fact that we've spent years trying to convince people not to line up first in the morning does nothing to fix the problem of people still standing in line for 5 hours and then bitching about it. When they show up, give them the ticket for the virtual queue and then tell them to get lost. Jesus, Disney and Universal have shown us how to do this for years. It's not the fact that there is a line, it's the fact that there's nothing else can be done while there's a line. Here's an idea. Have some other kind of come-and-go entertainment available. Say at the Westin Ballroom, we gain admittance to have to show your Anthrocon line pass, maybe 50-position artist alley on the other end of the room with a stage with some basic programming on it. Say comedy better when I've had a few at noon, 2 p.m., how to not build a fursuit from 2:30 to 3:30. Comedy or performance panels tend to work well as a come-and-go type of entertainment as people come to be entertained and leave once their time to register approaches, like being entertained at the line in a Disney or Universal theme park. The point is, right now, there is officially nothing else to do other than stand in line. So, of course, your attendees are going to stand in line. And if they start missing programming because the con is actually opened and they still don't have a badge that they have already paid for, then they're pissed because not only are they tired, but they did that while they're supposed to, and through no fault of their own are now missing activities that they were expecting to be part of. And then the decision is made that if you don't have a badge, you can't go on the first day. That goes over real well. Sarcasm. Shanner brings up a lot of excellent points. Preaching to the choir, Lion. I lasted longer, but I got sick and tired of trying to pull the numbers out of thin air when other departments had absolutely no cash control, but I was supposed to make everything right at the end of the con. So here's my statement to him. I said Anthrocon is a not-for-profit organization. If they can't afford to be cheap, they got to spend money where it counts, and that the registration department is the gateway for people getting into the con. And I will be talking about it today on today's stream right now, of course, as I've been doing. Shanner says, my last year we had 27 cash terminals ready to go, interconnected, and reported to the show office. Peter Cat refused to use them. Why would you refuse to use equipment? Why would you refuse it? I'm going to be bouncing up around here, so let me get in front of this thing. There I go. Hello, Jenks. I've seen lines firsthand. I had to wait 30 minutes to an hour after getting in at 11:30, but I understand why the lines are so long. Would you just need to get more people processing registrations? And that is where it lies. They need people. They need volunteers. They can't do this stuff with just a handful of people. If you got 15,000 people entering the con, you need about 100 people handling the registration department, if not more. Let's see. My solution to the long lines for registration. Hello, Domino, by the way. Stay away from larger cons. Like, for example, go to Philadelphia instead of Anthrocon. I don't think that's the solution. Anthrocon is desperately looking for volunteers. I decided to hop in and help out. It was slow and clunky. The row of Chromebooks, not enough. Badge runners, clunkily trying to grab badges one over another. It's slow. So I would advise Anthrocon to take a real close look at to how other furry conventions are handling it, such as Midwest Fur Fest. When I went to Midwest Fur Fest a year and a half ago, you know how quickly I got my badge? It took me 10 minutes. And Midwest Fur Fest had well over 15,000 attendees. And I believe this process, this bottleneck, is caused by a couple different things. One of those things is executive decisions and somebody blocking them. There's a lot of things that need to be done with the Anthrocon Registration Department. It needs to be spread out. It needs to be more staffed. Take a note of the volunteers that have come to help the registration department and seek them out and invite them back and ask if they would be so inclined to help staff the department. They need more people. Beyond that, they need a lot more registration terminals. To handle that first day of Anthrocon Registration Department opening up, they have to have a bunch of people and a bunch of machines ready to go. There's got to be at least 30, 40 terminals there, all ready to go. By the way, real quick shout out. The music that I am playing right now is from the Tunic soundtrack, made by Lifeformed and Janice Kwan. Please go check them out on YouTube and on iTunes. Let's see. look, I don't give a damn what the holdup is. The identity bottleneck and eliminate it. Yep, I identify the bottleneck. Exactly. But they still have to make the line to get them activated, or make the line to get them activated. Got to verify the right person has the badge. They need more than 40 terminals. There's got to be more to happen here. There's got to be more to happen. It's exceptionally frustrating. Let me move my Twitch streaming window here real fast so that I can read you guys properly. There we go. There's too much excuses. Now, things that I wanted to get done at the registration department were not being done due to some sort of other issue that I had no control over. And then being sent an all-caps email by Sam Conway himself saying, why weren't these things being done? It's because I wasn't being allowed to do them. I was basically being blocked. There's a lot of other issues going on in the background. I said, well, after dealing with these situations, and my last year at Anthrocon, we had over 6,000 people. And Anthrocon took pride in the registration numbers, and now that is basically a third of what they're potentially going to have right now. How do cons handle rewarding volunteers? Well, volunteers that have a sufficient number of hours are given a badge to the next convention. Their badge will be paid for. Some volunteers are given gifts and goodies and things like that. But just kind of keep one thing in mind, is that every single individual, every single staff member does not get paid at Anthrocon. The only compensation that many of the staff members get, at least the high-end staff members, are a hotel room. That's it. Their hotel rooms are paid for, and that's as far as they go. We don't get paid. We don't get compensated. We don't get anything. A staff dinner, if you can call that, it's a minor expense, but we don't go home with a bunch of cash in our pockets. That's not how it works. The majority is basically uncompensated in any way, shape, or form. Conventions do not work without their volunteers, right? If people are upset about the long lines at Anthrocon, I understand, I get that. But we need help. And in many cases, if you haven't picked up your badge yet, but you still want to volunteer, well, guess what? We can help bypass that process. We can get you a volunteer ribbon. Just give me your ID at operations, and we'll get you sent you on your way. We'll find your badge, we'll get you set up, and we'll tell you how to help the department. I would volunteer, and it's greatly appreciated. We don't care whether you volunteer for 30 minutes or for the entire weekend. Any amount of help is greatly appreciated. Every single department needs help of some kind, but the registration department is the entry point to the convention, and it is the most critical point of the convention. If people can't get in, we don't have a con, period. So, we're starting up for con in Austin. I know that need volunteers together to get things running, yep. Quite a few of us shared our rooms in our departments. Yep, that is true. We had a pile of people in rooms. We all had to share. I only asked because FWA had volunteers chomping the bit for more volunteer hours. Granted, there's going to be other departments that will definitely need your help, right? So, if you're new to a convention, if you've never been to a furry con before, I would suggest that you volunteer. Get to know the lay of the land, get to know the people, get to know the departments, see what clicks with you, what you find interesting, what you find useful. I volunteered back in 2006 for Anthrocon for every single department that I could go to. Now, I have a lot of respect for the staff members at Anthrocon as individuals, as people. They go out of their way to do a lot of great things. Peter Cat has helped me out back in 2007. When I got rushed to the hospital with a kidney stone after winning an auction, he mailed the artwork to me before I even paid for it. That amount of trust is incredible. And I got a lot of respect for that man. Let's see, a friend helps run the game for Room for ACFI. So, Let's see. Sounded like someone was whispering in my ear. But anyway, this is my first con. I saw how desperate they were getting, so I decided to volunteer. I hate seeing people have to scramble for help. Well, and also these machines, these badge printers, they get printed on site for any on-site registration. Pre-registration, those badges are already printed and ready to go. They have their envelopes ready. They have the names ready. The person just has to come in and show their ID. So let's talk about the process of the registration department. A lot of people will cause issues if they don't have everything that they need right away. When you go to Anthrocon, you need a government-issued identification. The types of ID that we are willing to accept for adults 18 and over: driver's license, state ID, military ID, or passport. In certain situations, if such IDs cannot be produced, there might be some alternatives that we will be willing to accept with discretion. People that we have known for a long time, we might be able to get them an alternate way of getting into the con, but in many situations we really do require a government-issued ID. If the registration system is still as I remember it, is wait for input information. Yep. People just need to have this information right up front. And we need to have levels of redundancy. We have to have backup systems. We have to be able to set things up very quickly. A lot of these systems are handled by Doug Giza, if you guys know him. He is a programmer and developer and has built a lot of the backbone in which the registration department runs on. And it becomes very frustrating when something doesn't go right, and we basically have one or two people knowledgeable enough to fix the problem. And that is where a lot of the other issues happens. And a large number of people need to know how to get into these systems and be able to fix them if things go wrong. Matt Macro, hello. Welcome. Sam, want to change it in the future? Hello, Sergeant Uppies. I want to address other types of concerns with people. It's like lines are going to happen at every con out there. Two of the largest cons, or three of the largest cons out there that I know of that are very similar to how Anthrocon is, BlizzCon, DragonCon, and of course TwitchCon. All of them have their own registration departments, and they're handled very efficiently, to my understanding. Yes, there's going to be long lines. Yes, you're going to wait, but you'll get in pretty quick. I would highly recommend Anthrocon consider taking a look at the staffing of the registration department. Take a look at the nature of how everything works, how the software works, how everything integrates, how it all talks to each other, and consider expanding. And then basically take a look at the space available in the convention center and see how they can line people up. When people start to turn into blobs, things get disorganized very quickly. Sonic, what I've heard and seen is the biggest problem is the amount of time that it takes for an individual person just to put his or her info. Badge printing is a fairly quick process. It's just an actual input of the info. And this is where pre-registration comes in handy. People who register on site, it's going to take some time. Now, my suggestion a long time ago was to separate these departments, pre-registration and on-site registration, and to make very clear indication of where to go immediately. Khaleesi Elise, thank you for the raid. Welcome on into the stream. So, the other things I should think about is how we should organize people. When a person comes to the hotel, the Westin Hotel, when someone comes into the convention center, the most obvious signage should be where the registration department is. That should be the most prominent sign. Where can I go to get into the con? Did I pre-register? Go that direction. Did I not pre-register? Go this direction. Those two areas of the registration department need to be separated and clear. That is my personal opinion. FWA has a registration site, My FWA, where the folks input their information. All Reg needs is your barcode from your account and your government ID. There you go. Sending you a raid from a fellow furry. Love your stuff. Have a great day. Thank you so much for your raid. Please enjoy yourself. The pre-registration department has 3 separate divisions. They have the regular registrations, the attendees. They have the sponsors and then the super sponsors, and I think they had it another level, but I do not recall. Aslan, hello. Welcome on in. The biggest problem that I had when I was running the registration department within the David L. Lawrence Convention Center was in that very hot, long, thin hallway. And we had no way of clearly directing people of where to go. After a certain point, they turned into a blob and we could not form a line. Ultra sponsors, yep. So that becomes a real issue when people can't find their way to get to the registration department. Did they pre-register? Are they sponsor? Are they super sponsor? Are they ultra sponsor? What level of membership did they get? Where do they go? What do they do? A lot of this, we try so desperately online, posting information everywhere in all social medias that we can get access to, and on the forums, and in letters that we send out. And still, people manage to not figure these things out. So the ultimate solution besides that is to make clear indication within these convention centers themselves on where to go. The Dorsai, well, now it's the safety team for Anthrocon. It is not security, it is the safety team. They also share a responsibility of helping direct people of where to go and what to do. There should always be a backup plan to a backup plan. Yeah, didn't the Dorsai get yeeted? That is a subject for a different stream. So, there shouldn't be any fear or frustration on where to go and what to do, right? We owe it to our attendees, regardless of what level of membership that they have, to provide timely, quick access to getting their badge and getting ready to go. I don't really see an excuse for such long lines, but if the lines are going to be long, then people should be processed quickly. I think it's a lack of manpower, and it's a lack of delegation of authority. People need to be allowed to make these decisions, make these calls. Now, we wanted to put together a manual for people to reference and know backup strategies or backup plans. Like, what happens if the director goes sick or something? Or what happens when a staff member gets, in trouble? Or what happens when something was taken the wrong direction? Or what happens when a piece of equipment is malfunctioning? What do we do then, right? We've got to have backup strategies. We've got to have backup plans. We got to keep these things moving and flowing. I had a really nice lady, an elderly lady of a certain age, when I was at work. And she came up to me in the sweetest possible voice. She's like, "Son, just give me what's good. I can't afford to be cheap." Right? So the case in point there is Anthrocon's got to take the money that they're getting from the attendees and pouring it back into the convention. And I think a lot of it has to go to the registration department to make sure that things can be done more easily. Because sending all caps emails to people and then complaining about why things aren't getting done and then not doing them anyway due to the lack of delegation of authority. You're not allowed to do this because this is my job, blah, 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 blah. This is a board of directors here, right? I think neighboring departments should know, like, some backup plans. Let's just say, hey, one department's dead at the moment. They're not doing much. Maybe what they can do is send off some of their staff that are available to help and put them into an adjacent department so that they can assist. I registered for an F2 on site through my phone. I was given a QR code to display on my phone. They scanned my code. 30 seconds later, my badge was printed and handed and sent down to the line to pick up my swag. That's a perfect example. There's a lot of people out there that have smartphones. They have Android phones. They have iPhones. They have all sorts of different funky doodads and gizmos. We can simplify these processes where people can pre-enter their information on their phone, submit it, and be given a QR code, and they scan it at the registration department. Boom, they print their badge, they're ready to go. Do the things that are necessary while waiting in the line to keep that line moving. BlizzCon voice. Y'all have phones, right? 1 in 3 people have phones. But we still need to have backup strategies to these processes. And Chromebooks, as nice as they are, there are now Windows PCs that actually have some pretty decent performance that you can get for $250 and are very highly programmable. You don't have to spend too much money to make registration terminals. And everything's got to be written down too. When people go in to get their badge, they sign their name, they check their ID, they write down their number, they grab their bag, and they go. There should be no reason for the lines to be exiting the convention center and going out into the streets of the city of Pittsburgh. I think there's a lack of proper handling. But I was not there. I can't make a pure judgment call based upon what I saw as photography and videos from Twitter about people complaining about the checkout lines or the registration lines. See, what's your opinion on Earthwind Jim? Well, that opinion is going to be handled in a separate stream. We're talking about Anthrocon, but Nasiles, welcome on into the stream. When I worked at Geek Squad, we had a concept called skywalking, when an employee would check on attendees and make sure that they had the right place or tell peeps behind the counter what to expect. Happy Drunk Pizza Friday. Oh, God, I had too much pizza yesterday. 4th of July was pretty nuts. So the numbers are so big this year, I'm currently sitting in line waiting to start moving in the dealer's den because they say the dealer's den is going to be completely filled. They'll also be closing off the den later. That convention center is specifically designed to handle a large number of people. There are conventions that go to that convention center that are far larger than Anthrocon that can handle it just fine. Did an employee have to be named Luke? Oh, jeez. I mean, there will always be some people who do need to have their hands held. I get that. But if we can get those people to the right area and focus our attention there. Each subdivision of the departments, the thought that I had was to have a number of assistant directors that could handle situations without needing to send it up to me within that area. What I would suggest that the department do, the on-site registration should have its own director. The pre-registration and the super sponsor, ultra sponsor should have its own director as well. And then within those departments, each department should have a supervisor, right? Somebody else who could assist with that responsibility. Within each of those departments, if there is a difficult situation, either write it down or take a mental note of what happened within those areas, and then collectively get those significant issues that happen within those departments so that they may be reviewed by the director later. Yeah, lieutenants, in a sense. And then of those situations, we can take a look and see what happened, why it happened, what can be done to improve that situation. My manager at work, his name is Rod, he's really nice. He's a really nice guy. He says, there's the customer's story, there's our story, and somewhere in between, there is a lesson to be learned, right? In the instance of running a convention, we are doing customer service. While we are a not-for-profit organization, we're still trying to help people. Without our attendees, we do not have a con. We need to take care of these attendees. We need to help them out. We need to find every possible situation to get the attendee into the con and not find reasons to push them aside. All right? These are some very difficult decisions that have to be made on the fly. As I see it, we're running a ship. We have to make a decision quickly. We can't hesitate, and we have to follow through. And if we make a mistake, we just eat it, and we build ourselves up after that. And it's difficult. I noticed that after a certain period of time on Wikifer, if anybody still goes there, Anthrocon's convention pages for each sequential year has less and less information. It's more of a summary now. And it's kind of becoming sad because Anthrocon, I felt, was like one of the big conventions. At some point or another, Midwest Fur Fest surpassed them in attendance. And I think that's due to the fact that they have a completely different method of how to handle registrations. And you guys are welcome to give your inputs on what's going on here. So I'm just going to recap here. I see it. I see people outside. I see people posting on Twitter, on Blue Sky, on Instagram, and Facebook, and Threads, all sorts of different social medias. Pictures of this long-ass registration line, wondering what the hell's going on. And I can understand why people are frustrated. The things that go on behind the scenes, there's a lot of hiccups. There's a lot of scrambling. There's a lot of, did I do this right? Did I do that right? Blah, 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 blah. NetEye, hello. Speaking from a European standpoint, getting to MFF is so much more easier than going to AC because of all the flights and locations. You got a good point. Shannon, I used to work for casinos, and casinos, by the way, have very strict rules on how things need to be done. You can't screw around. I was a second-level management, meaning that I had people making decisions that I had to trust, which meant when I told them my expectations, I gave them a set of parameters and let them loose. My autism makes frustration work. Okay, I get the autism, I get the ADHD. We deal with that in some way, shape, or form. And it's frustrating. There's a lot of people who love going to conventions who are naturally introverted, like myself. And large crowds, long lines, that can be very nerve-wracking to almost anybody. I get it. This is a difficult situation. What could be done? Well, first of all, like I mentioned earlier, Anthrocon needs volunteers. We cannot run this convention without people who are willing to go out of their way to help. If you have any spare time, any spare muscle, any spare experience, doesn't matter how little or how much that you have, we will teach you. If you want something to do, please help. It's great. If all you're going to do at the registration department is fetch badges, awesome. Anything helps. People who can handle terminals, people who can handle papers, people who can organize, check badges, check IDs, people who can get bags packed. People who can send messages to and from the department, people who can communicate, people who are good with radios. Praise those volunteers. The volunteers make the conventions run. And we're human beings, and we're going to make mistakes. We're going to screw up. We're going to learn from those mistakes, mind you. We're going to do the best that we can to do that. But just remember that there's human beings. Anthrocon has been in Pittsburgh since 2006. This means that this is their 18th year in Pittsburgh? As someone who has AUDHD, that's Autism Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder, staffs a major con, the biggest nugget of wisdom I can share is to know your boundaries and limits and honor them. I had to miss out on most of a party I really wanted to go to because I was not okay. And some people will need to take breaks, right? When I was working the registration department, I absolutely did not want any staff member to feel stressed or overwhelmed or hungry or thirsty or tired or sick. If you needed a break, go do your thing. I will take your position until I can find a volunteer to take it. Right? I don't want anyone in any department, in any convention, anywhere, sacrificing their health or mental well-being to help volunteer at a con. If you are not mentally well, you cannot do this job. You need to stand by and you need to give yourself some space and time. I hate to say it, but running a convention, it's a high-pressure, quick decisions department. And there's going to be moments of chaos. There's going to be moments of mayhem. There's going to be moments of scrambling. That is the nature of that business. If you don't like that high-octane, quick decisions, quick thinking, on your feet type of situation, then that department is not for you. There's much easier jobs that you can get within the convention if you still wish to volunteer. The other thing is people need to know what they have to do when things go wrong, right? In many cases, use your best judgment. I've come across some very serious situations that thankfully have not bitten Anthrocon in the ass, namely the notaries. When minors come into the convention, anybody 17 and under, they need to be escorted with their parents or legal guardians. And if they're not there present with them, then they must have a signed, notarized parental consent form. You go to a notary public. You can usually go to a bank, a lawyer's office, a post office, or any notary that you can find in your area where you live that is there to witness you signing a document that they will sign and keep on their records, and they stamp that document. And once that notary stamp is on that document, that makes that document legal. It is now a legal document. We use that as a method of making sure that minors who come into the convention are safe and properly registered. When people don't follow those procedures, things go awry. Not trying to run down any current former directors. It's a damn tough job, especially when the shit hits the fan. Yep. That nice little acronym, SHTF. Shit hits the fan. Shit will hit the fan. A lot. It happens all the time. Every convention. Like it or not, as smooth as things look on the surface of a convention, I guarantee you, there is a myriad of chaos that is going on behind the scenes. There's a lot of scrambling. There's a lot of, oh, this is a new, difficult situation we've never dealt with before. How are we going to handle this? You got to make those decisions on the fly, because if you don't, that ship is going to sink and people are going to get pissed. We need to be active. We need to be decisive. And every year is always a new experience. And when I've talked to former convention directors and former convention staff and how agitated, how irritated they are, how frustrated they are, they get angry. I get it, right? To try to maintain a smile on your face and being nice to people while behind the scenes you're getting aggravated and frustrated that things aren't working like they're supposed to. That is something that every convention director has dealt with. I've dealt with it. Chiaroscuro has dealt with it before me, and Benny before me. It is a very difficult job, and we don't get paid to do it. A little bit of patience goes a long way, but if everybody could just kind of take a step back a little bit, what can I do as an individual, as a person, as a fellow human being, to make the best of this situation? Whether it is that I am registering for the con or whether it is that I'm a volunteer or a staff member, what can I do? And I'll give you a little secret, chat. I'll give you a little secret. The absolute best thing that you can do is focus on the personality and focus on positive thinking. It's fun of the job. If you're not having too much fun, then everyone else won't have fun. Yep. Half of the ability to run a department is the ability to hide the fact that you're 30 seconds from panicking at any given moment. Yeah, and it's difficult. It's very difficult. Who is listening to the stream right now that is at Anthrocon as we speak? Because I would love to know how registration is doing. Interesting stuff. I need to watch this later, though. Freckles, you are a sweetheart. By the way, I'm going to... If we have a moderator in general, I can actually just do it right here. Guys, please go give Freckles a follow. I'll do this real fast. One of the cutest artwork I've seen in my life. Registration is apparently better today. Waiting to get in the dealer's den. Yeah. I gotta tell you, the things to run a con, the frustrations that we deal with, the pressure that we deal with. In 2006, I volunteered. In 2007, I was hired on as staff. 2008, I was assistant director. And then from there on up until 2013, I was voted on director of registration, and then I did it for 2 more years after that. All right, bye-bye, Freckles. Thanks for coming in. Question, though, will there be a VOD of this? I would love to share with this other con staffers. I can upload it to YouTube later. The VOD should stay on Twitch for at least 2 weeks. Sadly, I'm not a Twitch partner, so my VODs don't stick around for as long. But you guys can help change that. You guys can help change that. So, there's a lot of things to think about when it comes to running a convention and delegating authority. Oh my god. Throw a Pokeball does not work in VR chat. Sorry, Jinx. We have a lot of situations that we need to learn to deal with on a regular basis. Thursday and Friday at Anthrocon, the first 2 days of the convention, are the absolute busiest. Well, of course it's better. There's only 2,500 people trying to pound the register as opposed to 15,000. Yep, this will work. I appreciate the hydrate. Let me go grab some water here real fast. I happen to have a water container next to me. What can the registration department do to make things better? The one thing that they can do to make things better is to expand their workspace, spread things out, get more staff into the department or more volunteers, if possible. They need additional equipment. They need methods of signing up for registration on mobile devices like phones and tablets and things like that they can punch in their information online so that basically once they get to the terminal, they can be shown their information and they can go grab their badge. They need to streamline that process, make it easier for people. They need directivity. They need staff to point out where people need to go, where to line up. People need clear indication on where to go if they're registering on site or if they're registering online. On-site and online registration are very different. If you pre-registered online, then that process should be a lot easier. So if you have some spare time at the convention and you're bored and you don't know what to do, you don't know what panels to go to, I highly ask and recommend that you go to the operations department and go volunteer. I guarantee you there is a department somewhere in the building that needs your help. Be open. Don't volunteer for a con and then be selective of where to go, right? Be open and just see what's out there. You'll be surprised on how much there is to do and how much there is to entertain you. Volunteers are cuter than Nick Wilde and Judy Hopps. Okay, thanks. Provide pizza and Mountain Dew. Okay, the staff are fed. There is a staff dinner after the end of the convention that all the staff members go to. And we have this nice long conversation. And I want Anthrocon to approach this as a Knights of the Round Table situation. While we delegate authority and things like that and try to provide trustworthy people for each of the departments to help handle situations. I don't want any one staff member to look down on anyone else. There's nobody that is superior to anybody else. We are all volunteers. We all work together. There shouldn't be any single individual that controls everything. It is a team effort. Keyword, team. We need to talk to each other. We need to work with one another. We need to think about what the best situation to go about things are. I would recommend that what we have done in the past is to have like a little pre-mini meeting session prior to the registration department being open. And yeah, okay, I agree I need more staff, but we're running to the fact that there just aren't enough people volunteering. Okay, I'm not sure that's the staffing issue. I think they're running into a tech and equipment problem. And that's the other thing you need to think about too. The equipment that becomes available to these departments seems to be very, very small, right? That single point of failure is going to cause a lot of commotion. Badge printers are reasonably fast. When you submit a badge to a printer, it usually prints in about 10 seconds. That's not too bad. But there should be like a bunch of different terminals and places for people to log into. If you think you're superior over a specific job, then get help and great pointers. Yep. Yeah, they provided the staff with Chromebooks that struggle to find names you search up. It takes a valid time for the search, or valuable time. The search algorithms for finding names in the database should be able to be streamlined as well. I haven't messed with the Chromebook systems in quite some time. I do have old encrypted documents on my computer of registrations that happened 9 years ago. Something else that I've done in years prior that I hope they still do today was being able to register our guests of honor immediately. Aside from like staff registration gets their own book that they sign. And I was wondering when I had looked in that book, and I'm like, where do our guests of honor sign for their badges? They're in here with the staff book? Why can't they just open the book to page 1, sign for their badge right there on the front, and get going? And that change was implemented by me. Because a person that we have personally invited into the convention should be able to get their badge immediately without replication or confusion or anything like that. They should be able to get their badge and go and enjoy the con. And a guest of honor is as much as an attendee as anybody else is, so they can go wherever the heck they want, with or without escort. That is entirely their choice. Let's see. Yeah, they provided staff with Chromebooks, struggle to find names. Yeah, it's just a PDF. Yeah, Chromebooks are fine. Chromebooks run a Chrome OS, which is based off of Android, that doesn't take anywhere near the amount of resources that, say, like Windows does. So Chrome can run fine on a Celeron processor with 4 gigs of RAM. And you're just looking up text and information. They work just fine. They're lightweight, they're travel-friendly, they don't take a lot of power, they're easy to transport, they're small. So I would say Chromebooks are fine. But it would be nice to have, like, say, a fleet of, like, 40 Chromebooks. The other thing I would think about is, like, the layout of how the registration department is opening. That registration department should be spread out far and wide. The signs to get into the registration department on where to go, those signs should be big, they should be bright, they should be obvious and hanging from the ceiling. So people can look up, read a sign, and know where to go. I brought up my ticket for DLP to go see my boyfriend. God, for €114 for a ticket at Hertz? Oof. That's like $130. Oh, jeez. But anyway. So that's another case in point. And Shannon makes some excellent points as well. Is you've got to make sure that there's enough equipment to get people going. and have backups to your backups, right? Have several people that know these systems inside and out, so that if there's a bug or a glitch or a hiccup or something, that they don't have to seek out one person in the entire con, wherever it is that they could be, to help fix that situation. And if shit hits the fan and the computers go offline for some reason, there needs to be an analog method of getting people into the con, signing documents, and make sure we organize that stuff. Organization is one of the key ingredients of running a con. If you are not organized, you cannot run a con. You have to know where stuff goes. You have to know where stuff is going to be. Clearly label all boxes, all cables, all computers, all accessories. Label them. Know where to put stuff. If you go into a library and you have no card catalog and you got books all over the floor, how are you going to find what you want to read? You're not. Same thing with running a department. You've got to catalog this stuff. You've got to know where to put this stuff. You've got to know where these cables go. Can't be scrambling to find answers. Well, thank you for this info. Very helpful for us on our first con. No problem. I think AC's status a non-profit organization could net them good bulk pricing for a couple dozen Chromebooks, but if registration info is collected on a really good text-based database, it'd be easier to collect quickly. That's another thing about cons. People are going to be spending a lot of their savings to get there, so it's nice to show them appreciation for coming. The average amount of money that a single individual will spend at a con over a weekend, average, is $1,500. And that number could be going up due to inflation. Think about what money is being spent when you go to a con. When you fly. A plane ticket, depending upon where you're coming from, could be anywhere from $200 all the way up to $1,000, right? What if they're traveling overseas? International flights are very expensive, require a lot of planning. People need their passports to get through. It is very nerve-wracking for anyone who is an international attendee to come to the United States to come to Anthrocon. That makes things a little bit more difficult. When you're flying internationally from another country and you find that the registration department has this long line going outside the building in very hot, muggy weather in Pittsburgh, that's not a good look for the convention. So how can we streamline that process? A person will spend a lot of money on traveling from the airport to the convention center hotel, or any of the 5 or 6 hotels that they got going on. A taxi cab ride could be $50. A Uber drive could be about the same price, or Lyft, or whatever other service. I would recommend that friends get in touch with each other at the airport and carpool. And it is possible to look into professional help. There are support companies that can run this process for a convention. Frankly, if the convention could pass this off to private company at a rate of $5 to $10 a person, I would say seriously look at it. Yep. Probably outsourcing might be a necessary thing to look into the mechanisms of other services and situations. This was also very heavily considered. Yes, that would mean raising the price of admission, but frankly, at $80 for 40 attending admission is still cheap. Yeah, that's cheaper than most places. That's cheaper than getting into Disney. Disney, I spent $400 in a single day at Disney. $400 for one day. Comparatively to a convention, that is really cheap. I mean, we're dealing with inflation here, too. A convention badge is no longer like $30. Dragon Con is still close to $200. Yep. So imagine all the other money spending. Flight, taxi, Uber, Lyft, hotel room. 4 nights at a hotel can be $400, $500, $600, $700, depending upon whether you have a single or a double or a suite. You know, some people will spend thousands of dollars on a hotel room, having an entire party there. Food, I imagine that the average person will spend $50 a day on food. Over the course of a weekend, that's $200, $300 maybe. You know, not including any of the fancy restaurants that people might go out to. So let's just, say $300 for the weekend. Imagine the amount of money that they're spending at the dealer's den, right? Dealers, they could go and spend $100, $200, $300, $400, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $5,000, right? There's people who will spend 5-digit numbers on the dealer's den. I am not joking. That has happened several times. Okay, I get it. Furry has done absolute best at trying to keep its costs down. But the point I'm trying to make is that there's a lot of these amount of expenditures that people go into this type of stuff, right? Oh, and side point, if you're going into the artist alley, do not ask for discounts because you're basically just insulting people, but that's a side point. And kind of keep in mind that staff members spend this amount of money getting into the convention too. The only thing that some staff members are compensated on, and I've already mentioned this earlier in the stream, is their hotel room and maybe a single meal at the con. And that's it. That's all they get compensated on. But everything else is out of pocket. Now, why did I personally step down as a convention director? There's a couple of different reasons for that. And I will say that the number one reason is the stress. There is so much that goes on at a convention that you have to deal with, and that level of responsibility continues to build up and build up and build up until the weight of those responsibilities pushes you down straight into the dirt. It's rough. It's absolutely rough. And I get it. This is why delegation of authority is such an important thing at a convention. Being able to find other people that you know and trust that can take care of these things. I've had my friends Kryn and Dresho and Tirlin, and I've had Nevermint, and I've had a multitude of other people help at the con, being assistant directors, and Nikona and Snowy. Really good people. And they can only handle so much too. And I've seen it in their faces when things didn't go right, and the frustration that comes up, right? They're trying their absolute best to get things working. I get it. Anthrocon Registration is one of the most difficult departments to staff. It's one of the most difficult departments to maintain. It's one of the most difficult departments to prepare and organize for. And I took on a position that was really weighing me down. I opened up my comp room open to most of my department because, frankly, there was no way in hell I could ask for that kind of help, time commitment, and expect them to pay to do this. Exactly. I recognize the fact that my staff members pay a lot of money to come into the convention, and I want to compensate them for as much of their time as I can in some way, shape, or form. I felt terrible backing down. The other thing I was trying to do was enlist for the military 10 years ago, and that kind of fell through since I had a car accident. That also interrupted a lot of what I was trying to do at Anthrocon. There was too many things going on with my life that were difficult. And all of that stress was compounding on me, and I had to let it go. Believe me, I loved Anthrocon. I still do. There's things that can be improved about the convention. That's never going to change. There's always somewhere, some way, something could be improved, right? ASCFI, they comp some staff's rooms, but a lot of the time they get specifically for Reg get pizza. Yep. Metal Goth, how you doing? I am expressing my concerns. I'm getting some opinions from people. For anybody who registered for Anthrocon, aside from the long line, what would you say was the most difficult situation you had to deal with? What was the most frustrating part of it? What was the most frustrating part of it? Is if I wait in a really long line and I come to this registration terminal and I have to type in all my information there, it was nice to be able to do that, but I kind of realized, well, yeah, that takes like 5 minutes. And some people aren't really good at typing. Some people just don't type at all. They just hunt and peck letters, and that slows everything down. So, not when the pay at work hasn't gone up with the cost of living? Yeah, tell me about it. Oh my God. My pay has gone down at work. It's gone down. I hate that. And my rent went up twice in 9 years. It's now $1,600 a month. This is another reason why I don't go to cons anymore. Rent is so high. I used to have spare money that I could go out and visit conventions, and can't do that anymore. So anyway, thank you for the hug. I appreciate it. My experiences with conventions, running them, staffing them, volunteering for them, it only goes so far and only goes so deep, right? The experience that I have, I would say, as far as the registration department goes, is pretty intimate, but as far as the entire convention goes, is rudimentary at best. Because there's so much else that happens behind the scenes that has to be prepared for. And the board of directors, we talked with each other, we talked with our guests of honor, and we had to make some very difficult calls on, who to be voted on for the board. We had voted on Uncle Kage one last time. I think that was like the last vote that we had. And it's starting to show that people can break the seams when things get too pressure. Come to my small town, we're begging for workers for Geek Squad. I tried applying for Best Buy years and years ago. They don't like my personality. So, unfortunately, I don't think Geek Squad's a good choice for me. The other joke I made is Anthrocon is expensive. When I started, I still had 2 legs. Yeah, it's an investment just to get out to a convention center. Cons are ran by volunteers. Cons are ran by, blood, sweat, and tears. And it's a rough ride. Because I guarantee you, if I go to, like, say, BlizzCon, and I go to their registration department, and I ask them some questions and how they do their things, and I guarantee you there's going to be chaos behind the scenes for them, too. And they're dealing with registration numbers that are far higher than ours, right? Or than Anthrocon's. I say ours because I still feel like Anthrocon's a part of me, even though I had stepped down like 9 years ago. 9 years ago. That still blows my mind. Won't go into much detail, but due to money issues, that's why I can only do Texas cons. Yep. There is a local convention in Minneapolis that is ran by friends of mine. Furry Migration. I was there for Con Zero. Con Zero was the beginning of a convention center, and it has mushroomed into something much larger. But I will say this, I do not like Minneapolis at all. I don't like the layout. I don't like how twisted it is. The hotel where they run the convention, it is just mangled. Whoever designed it is so claustrophobic in there. I really can't stand it. Thank you for the hug. Although I will say this, at Anthrocon, the connection between the convention center and the Westin Hotel was built very poorly. Everything is bottlenecked to an elevator or a set of stairs. It's such a poor design. They need to open it up and expand it somehow. And no one really likes going out into the street, going from the Westin to the convention center, because you go out into the street and there's really hot weather, and then you come up backwards behind the registration department or where it used to be. Peter Matthews, thank you for the hug and the boops. All I ask, chat, is to keep an open mind at Anthrocon. The staff are absolutely trying the best that they can with the equipment that they have, with the staff that they've got, with the situations that they're in, with the pressures that they're dealing with. Just enjoy the con. They're going to learn from their mistakes. They're going to improve their systems. And they're going to open up. It's rough going, but I believe that their department is going to do the absolute best that they can to make situations better for everyone, staff and attendees included. Come on, any con that puts their con chair in a dunk tank is okay in my book. See, I went to MFF last year. Yay! I haven't gone to MFF in a while. Stray Blaze Guy, Sonicgott, Hawaiian, what's up? We are talking about conventions and registration departments and long lines. You know that skywalk at AC and the whole white hallway only supposed to be temporary, right? Temporary. Yep. What happened to that? Did that change over the last 9 years? I don't know. I haven't been there since. Mr. Cheese! How you doing, Bean? Welcome, welcome. I got one more question to ask you. Anthrocon is going to be popular in Pittsburgh in a million furs? Who knows? It's possible. So what other questions do you guys have for me? What thoughts or ideas do you guys have? What do you think could be done to improve upon the situation? We've talked about some really great ideas. Shatter's brought up some wonderful ideas, I think. The other situation is accessing finances, right, from the department. This is going to kind of enter a little bit sensitive territory, but I'm just going to kind of leave this as plain as I can get it. The finance department was straight across from Anthrocon Registration Department, and there have been several situations where I needed something out of finances, information, exchanges, tills, things like that. And it was a pain to have to constantly go over there. But at least there was always somebody in there that could knock on the door and say, hey, I need access. So I had asked Sam, like, maybe I could get my own key for this. And he looks at me with kind of a half smile, a little bit of a smirk on his face, like, in what situation do you think you're going to need a key for the finance department? I think he intentionally wanted to bottleneck that area to reduce the chances of theft. We're dealing with a lot of money at the con. Numbers that I'm not going to say on stream. But let's just say it's enough to make any person nervous with what we had dealt with. And that money has got to be accounted for. It's got to be cataloged. It's got to be reported to the government. We have to do all sorts of different things with that stuff. So I guess in Sam's thought, the less people that had keys for the finances was better. Anyway, moving on. Just lying down a VRC being kind of bored. I have to work today. I got to work for a 2 to 11 shift. I'm not going to get home until late at night. So before we continue on with some conversation, tomorrow we'll have a stream at about noon. I still haven't decided whether I want to continue on with Animal Crossing or maybe continue on with Winds of Change. I think I might want to do Winds of Change, so we could do that. Clay's Winds of Change. Then, my birthday is on July 8th, but the only day that I have available to do a birthday stream is the 9th, so it's going to be the day after my birthday. I'll be streaming as much of the day as possible. I can switch between different games. I can do all sorts of different stuff. I can have an open chat. I'm not doing anything with VR chat for my birthday. This is very difficult, and it gets really hot. Tank Spec Weasel, thank you for the follow. I hope you enjoyed it here in the Lion's Den. I appreciate it. Your birthday is on the 8th as well? Yes. I will be 43. Yay. Anyway, the outdoor escalators on the roof of the DLCC was supposed to lead into another hotel. The original design was dual-legged tower, allowing 10th Street to pass through, with that being the hotel. Ah, interesting. All that time, and I never knew that. How funny. You learn something new every day. So, in short, conventions are run by volunteers. Volunteers that spend a lot of their own money and a lot of their own time and use vacation time to come and help the convention center out. All staff are volunteers. Doesn't matter what kind of ribbon is attached to our badge. Whether it's a director or assistant director or staff or volunteer. We're all volunteers. Every single one of us. We have different responsibilities, but we are volunteers all the same. We're learning processes. We're making refinements. We're learning. We're growing. We're adapting. We're addressing concerns. And we're trying to take care of each other and trying to make the best possible convention experience. There's going to be a lot of grief when it comes to the Anthrocon Registration Department this year. I've seen it all online, but I can guarantee you that they are working as hard as they can to make things happen for you guys. Sometimes there's a snafu. You don't know what is happening, right? I have a few thoughts and ideas of why those things could be happening, so I come up with some situations where it could be improved upon. They need to expand their horizons. They need more equipment. They need a refined registration process. They need to make it easier for people while waiting in line. Provide some sort of entertainment. Give them a queue to be in, right? Don't force people to wait in line. Maybe they need to start doing something that is not involving badge printing. Maybe Anthrocon could just do away with badges altogether. Do what FWA does. They have a wristband. People who have registered for the con have a wristband. So yeah, the Western Skywalk and the hallway, parking garage, elevators are supposed to be a stopgap. Yeah, cool. One day I'll get to go to a furry con. It is mayhem. It is mayhem. As attendees, what can an attendee do to help with the process? Make sure to prepare beforehand. Make sure to bring your proper identification. Once again, driver's license, state ID, military ID, or your passport. IDs that might be accepted if you don't have any of those. Usually we accept like a social security card and something with your signature on it. Like if I had nothing on me, if I had no form of ID on me, if you had something with like a photo on it, like a student ID with your name on it, and maybe something that's signed, like your FCC ham license card, for example, that's got a signature on it and it's government issued technically. So we might be able to accept that, only if you're over the age of 18. If you're under the age of 18, you must have a signed parental consent form permitting the convention, getting into the con. Minors will need their student ID or something with their picture on it, or social security card, and then their parents can co-sign to say, hey, they're allowed into the con, so that we can keep that on file and say, hey, this person is in the con legally. If you don't have your parents with you, you need a notarized parental consent form. You can find a notary public near your area. Just do a search for them on Google. Notary publics make your documents legal. They put their little stamp on them. Thank you for the hydrate, Mr. Cheese. The other things that you can do, minimize the stuff that you're taking with you. You know, when you go to the registration department, just make sure you have your IDs with you. Bring your phone with you, just in case you're bored and you want to play some games while you're waiting in line. Talk with your friends. Make plans. So when I was in registration dealing with 6,000 people, the checkout line was 4 hours, and there was nothing that I could do about it. We had every possible terminal running. We had every possible volunteer working. There was nothing I could do about it. I tried to get those lines sorted and organized, but they turned into blobs. I think I lacked a lot of line management. It would have been nice to have some volunteers or security members, or safety team rather, to assist with the wrangling of the lines and getting people in formation. Get some stanchions up, or get some benches down. There's going to be people who can't stand for long periods of time. I would also say this, to have a section in the registration department for physically disabled people. If you walk with a cane or a crutch or a wheelchair, if you have back issues, if you have medical concerns or other conditions like that, I want to say that those people should have their own area of registration to go to, regardless of the type of badge that they're getting, to help streamline that process. Yep, we're still going. People who are handicapped, I think they should have a much easier way of getting into the con, because if we find that people who have medical conditions that make it difficult for them to stand or sit for long periods of time, they need to have a faster way of getting into the con, I think. That's just my thought. They have that at Midwest Fur Fest. They have a disabled area. And it should be easily accessible. Easily accessible. Should be wide open. And signage of where people need to go to get their badges needs to be prominent. Either a large stand out in the floor or something in the ceiling pointing out where people should go. Right? And there should be a PA system as well that can be easily heard. The problem is that the PA systems within the convention center itself, it echoes way too much and is very hard to understand. A lot of the inside of the David L. Lawrence Convention Center convention space is concrete. Concrete everywhere. And because of that, sound vibrates off the walls rapidly. And that echoing is very difficult to discern. I agree with that, but how do you prevent the Southwest Miracle? Go into detail what the Southwest Miracle is, Shanner, if you don't mind. Don't just make it an extra line. It needs to be well managed. Yep. Great, this is why we need headsets. If we could create some sort of method. Now, we have something at our job at work where people can punch in their credentials and their names are put into a queue system where they get paged on and they get called in. So that, customers, we need to check them in for service, and then they get texted on their phone saying, hey, now we're ready to take you. This has been a very exasperating portion of the stream of trying to find out how things could work and be improved. But other than that, the purpose of going to a con to begin with, going to a furry con or any convention, a gaming convention, a union convention, a technology convention, automotive convention, it's to go there and have a great experience and have a fun time. I'm sure there is a phone app that they use for communicating that will connect to headsets. That might be a little bit complex to set up. Anthrocon also doesn't want to invest too much money into technologies that are too difficult for people to understand. We have to accommodate for normal people, right? The majority of the world out there only has fundamental technical knowledge. And if we put too much technology into a situation, we can lose people. They'll get confused, throw their hands up in the air, and they'll say, I don't know what to do. Why am I here? I'm going home. Yeah, the simpler the better, yes. Everfly in Southwest, 15 people board using wheelchairs. On landing 2, deplaning by wheelchair. Oh boy. That sounds crazy. Yeah, better off automated. I say the less a person has to do to get their badge into the con, the better. The only responsibility that a person should have other than finding the correct area to go get their badge is bring their ID with them, bring their money with them if they need to, and make sure they have entered their information prior. It's been an hour and a half, and it's been me talking about a lot of things. I hope this has kind of cleared things up for people. I hope this is a little bit of an eye-opener. Every registration department and every furry convention out there does things differently. But I ask that furry conventions talk with each other as well and share their thoughts and their ideas and how they do things. I will also say this. Furry conventions are not competition to one another. They're not. A good chunk of people in every furry convention goes to other conventions too. Furry Week in Atlanta, Furry Migration, Midwest Fur Fest, Anthrocon. Those are the 4 major conventions that I've been to, all handled reasonably well, some better than others. But I would hope that they talk to each other and ask each other for help. How did you do this? What did you guys set up with this? How can we make this happen? Frankly, the best idea might be to mail the damn things by certified mail. That costs a lot of money. That's a lot of time. And that's also very difficult. There's got to be some sort of process. I hope that those things become a possibility down the road. And then people also need to be able to be responded to when it concerns technical situations. The other big problem that I made when I was running a convention is I did not have a separate email address specifically for Anthrocon stuff. My primary address was mixed in with emails from other sources not concerning the convention, and that was a huge problem. I learned to not do that. They should have a submission form on the website that could be logged into by another staff member to go in and check directly. And there should be several people that can respond to these technical support situations or service issues. And then whoever responds to it, that their name can be stamped on that response so that it could be looked at by any of the directors. So have some sort of submission system instead of trying to set up a separate email. Well, compared to the PR meltdown, it might be worth it looking into. Yeah, I will agree with you on that one. Absolutely. These are businesses, right? We might not be a profit center when or Anthrocon, is a not-for-profit organization, but it is a business nonetheless, and as it is, it has to be treated professionally in a timely manner, scrutinized and taken care of, and making sure that the right people are all grouped together and investigating each other's ways of doing things so that we can spot mistakes and prevent them before they happen. There's got to be a little bit more going on. There's got to be a little bit more going on. You got to think about these things. All right, chat. We're at an hour and a half here. I've been talking my head off, and I want to change gears for a little bit. For those of you who came in and watched the stream today, thank you. I really appreciate it. I'm going to check my schedule on my phone, and my phone is not charging properly. This is not good. My phone is dying. I need to replace this thing. I'm hoping I can get a replacement by my birthday, but I don't think that's going to happen. Oh boy, this is not good. Jeez. So, let's see. Next day's coming up. Today is the 5th. I hope you guys had fun on your 4th of July if you did celebrate that. Let's see. Tomorrow, on the 6th. Let's see. The 6th is going to be Saturday. I will be streaming from noon to 4. We'll probably do Winds of Change again. After that, no streams for 2 days. And then my birthday stream will happen on the 9th. And I will probably start about noon, and it will go most of the day on my birthday, or the day after my birthday. It'll have to be the 9th. And I hope I get to see you guys there. Could pay my $10 to have my badge with me when I arrive. All right, chat. Let's find out who we can send you all off to. Because I need to get to work. I need to get some caffeine in my system. It's going to be a heckin' good time, I hope. I hope this conversation was helpful for you people. I hope this kind of opened up some ideas, some thoughts. Don't hit Anthrocon too hard for these registration lines. They're doing their best that they can. And as always, guys, no matter who you are or where you come from, you're valid and you're loved. Let's go find out who we can raid here real fast. Let's see. Give me just a second. I want to see who else is online right now. And scrolling down. I think a lot of people are at Anthrocon. And some people aren't. Let's go send you off to my friend Bardic. You guys know Bardic, right? At least I hope you do. Alright. So let's just do that. I'm going to end a little bit early here. I hope this was helpful for you guys. Please take care of one another. If you're at Anthrocon, remember to hydrate. Remember to take care of yourself. Exercise, 6 hours of sleep a night, 2 meals a day, and at least 1 shower or bath per day. Have a good one, guys. I appreciate you so very, very much.